You got me thinking when you're talking about like leasing up units with the property managers and how a lot of these third party property managers are just like they can't be trusted. With Breeze of 32, dude, we got into like a pretty crazy situation.
Yeah.
So give the listeners some context. We closed on this property December of 2019. We cashed out our 401ks to buy this deal. This is like our first apartment deal together. And we get into renovating units, and our occupancy dips, and we're starting to turn some of the units, and we go to start leasing them up, and all of a sudden COVID 2020 boom hits, and we're like, guys, like, what are we gonna do? Everyone's on lockdown. It's hard to lease up units. Our property manager is not doing a good job of helping lease up these units, and we're like running low on money. We're like, all right, what are we gonna do? I remember having like calls and meetings. We're like, all right, what are we gonna do? And push come to shove, we got creative. What were some of the methods that we utilized back then?
So some of the methods we utilized, because we were realizing, so first, some of the things we realized to provide some context, for example, is that like our property manager at the time, we'd be like, hey, we're secret shopping. We've had these people reaching out to us on the Facebook Marketplace. When are you guys doing these tours? And they'll say like, oh, well, our normal business hours are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and we don't do tours outside of normal business hours or on weekends. And it's like, so the only way that these people, these, blue collar working class people are going to view our units is if they call in sick to work to come view it, or they just happen to have a day off. Most people are probably going to view it when they're don't have to work and aren't going to take off work to do it. Or they might be like, you know what, I'm going to search for my next apartment this weekend when I got some time. And our property manager was not catering to those people. So what we did, which was great, and I think you had the idea for the leasing agent, which was we called a local real estate agent and gave her basically said, look, we'll give you a percentage of each of these lease ups, this like solid dollar amount for you to simply do tours. And each one of these that we get leased up, you'll get your cut. And in addition to that, we obviously set up some of the self-tour stuff, but we also set up our own listings and
On
had somebody,
Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace.
Facebook Marketplace was like
that was a
crazy
banger.
because they only were listing our property, I think, on like Zillow or something.
Yeah.
And like a lot of other platforms they
And
weren't.
shout out, I think Swanee was like the one that we kind of like. I think he was like the one that was pumping the Craigslist, and then somehow the Facebook Marketplace came to fruition, and that was like a banger.
I think that was his idea too, because he was saying how successful he is with Facebook Marketplace, and it's true. Like a lot of people look for their rentals on there. I think we increased our like number of like people reaching out by like 140% or something crazy. It was like just an enormous increase in people interested, and we were filling up units like way faster that way. So we renegotiated with the property manager, saying like, hey, like you guys only take this much for the lease up fee or whatever it was, because we're going to take this on ourselves. And so we basically just like a la carte them for some of the property management stuff so that we can.
Dude, that property, man, like it was our first deal together, and we made so many mistakes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But like, dude, I learned so many lessons with that property, and we all did. But dude, it really like is a testament to like how generous and forgiving real estate can be if you just buy in good locations and you get creative, and problem solve. Things are going to come up. You can't plan for everything. Like how many things came up post close that even pre closing. I mean, I remember being out there for the inspection. To give you guys some context, I mean, this is 32-unit building in a suburban neighborhood in Indianapolis, about 15 miles south of downtown Indy, in an area called Greenwood. Decent neighborhood. Schools are like 6s and 7s, so pretty decent. Median household income, about $60K at the time. It's probably $70K now. And pretty decent suburban neighborhood. That said, we bought a really ugly looking building that was run down. It was mom and pop owned for like 20, 25 years. There was some sort of like, I think the husband had passed away.
Yeah.
And then there was like the wife and her like brother were fighting over like what was going to happen. I remember the closing took a while because of that, but I remember being out there for the inspection with you and Mike, and I'm like, the cops showed up like on 2 separate occasions during the inspection. There was like drug deal going down. There was probably prostitution going down. And then we got inside these units, and bro, like it was rough. Dude.
It was rough. We always joke that like we essentially it was a brick building, and we joked that we like bought a pile of bricks because like outside of the bricks, it seemed like everything had to be replaced.
Yeah.
Like you name it, like everything from top down, the roof had to be replaced, firewalls inside of the attic, all of the interiors, windows, fascia, soffit, I mean, concrete, patios.
So much deferred
Dude.
maintenance, and inside of the units was even worse.
Yeah.
I mean, there was. I remember there was one move out. We had like a hoarder. I don't know if you remember that photo.
I do.
Yeah, but it was like a hoarder, and it looked like no one has cleaned this unit in 20 years.
When I show people pictures of when we were there for the inspection, I have a picture, and you're actually in the photo because you're like walking across the living room, and I've shown people like, yeah, this is what it looked like before. And then I like pause for a moment for them to look at it, and I say, that's carpet, by the way, because it looks like concrete on the ground, but
Yeah.
it's so dirty and nasty.
Ugh.
And that always blows people's minds. Like, it was that bad.
And the appliances were like straight from the 60s.
Yeah, it was a 1968 vintage
Yeah.
property, I think, and I don't think they touched it
No.
since 1968. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, I don't think they repaired anything since 1968.
Yeah, it was like
Even the doors were original, like everything.
the drawers in the kitchen drawers, you would pull them out and they're not on a track or anything. They're just loosely dangling inside the cabinet box. So like we had to completely replace those. And we did. I mean, it was like, I would say that like there's a lot of learning lessons, but one of them is definitely, if you're listening to this, like taking on that heavy of a value add, that's a tough thing to do for your very first project. That was a nightmare
It was.
in many
It
ways, but we came out on the other side. I mean, we 3X'd our investment. We did good.
Yeah, so numbers wise, we bought it for 1.2. We had a $35,000 seller credit, so all in net like 1.165. And then we ended up selling around 3.1, like exactly 24 months later. But, you know, there was a lot of learning lessons in between. There was a lot of mistakes made.